last week we started on this and on identity and who are you. And this week we're gonna just do it brief. It's gonna be brief, hopefully, unless y'all open up and make it strong, make it longer. It's gonna be brief. It's actually something. And again, remember, all the stuff we're doing is stuff that I would use in counseling. And it actually is some awesome stuff. It makes a lot of sense. It'll help you when you're trying to help somebody else. And like we did with grievance cycle, we did it with mourning, we did it with suicide, we did all this stuff, and now we're in identities. And so you can really learn a lot and understand it. Have you ever had somebody say they flip their switch? I mean, they're happy, and everything's going good, and then you go, who in the world is this? Okay? That can be momentary, or that can last for weeks. It can last for months. It can last for years. Okay, so we're going to try to just go into some of this. This is not an all-inclusive, everything, all your answers, everything you want to know about identity crisis. This is just going to help you out a little bit, all right? What is your real identity? What is an identity? This is what we answered last week. Is identity something you were born with? Is it changeable or never able to change? And as we discussed last week, you're born with part of it. Part of you is genetic. Another part of you is a blank slate. All right? The blank slate can get changed by your situation you're in, who you're around. Do you know that you're going to be like the 5 people you hang out with the most? And those 5 people will help shape your identity. If you hang around with a bunch of hard heads, you hang around with a bunch of people who want to fight all the time, you're going to want to fight. You know, they even said, I was listening to some marriage counseling and stuff, and it said, you know, usually couples that you look at a couple and they're talking about getting a divorce, ask them of the 5 couples out there, how many of them are getting a divorce? Yeah, and so you look, if you hang around people that say a divorce is not an option, then you'll say divorce is not an option. Same way, who you hang around with has a lot to do with that blank slate, plus things that happen in your life. I said, if a cat ever sits on a hot stove, he'll never sit on any stove again. He won't sit on a cold stove. So things that happen to you that will shape you and change you. So part of you is genetic, and part of it is the blank slate, and you put them together to get your identity. Now, and it is changeable. That's the cool thing. It is changeable. If you work at it, if you understand it, if you realize that you can work on it, and you can change the way you are. And I've seen some people like that. I used to work with a guy from West Point. He was my boss. At West Point, he was a captain from West Point. He was the hardest man I ever had to work for in my life. Because no matter what happened, there's no excuses. And I said, this is not an excuse. This is a reason. This is why the machine was not put up last night, why it was not fixed. Because my boss, the boss in between me and you, told me that we didn't have time to fix it. We had to get some other stuff done, so I couldn't be there to fix it. And now he's mad at me because it weren't fixed. I couldn't do it. I asked somebody, my boss, immediate boss, said, no, we're going over here and take care of this stuff. It's more important. So he comes in and jumps on me and says, there's no excuse. Well, after years, he started getting in with some good people, some good leaders, getting some good leadership training. Although West Point's got good leadership training, I'm not saying it doesn't. But he went from that, there's no excuse, until he became one of the greatest leaders I'd ever worked with. I love working with him. Once he got into some right kind of training, and with the right kind of people, versus some of these hard folks that no excuse. So, what's an identity crisis? Now this is kind of a mature subject, but I'm pretty sure that we're all mature. Amen? At least we all look like it anyway.
There you go.
Okay? An identity crisis is a period of difficult transition. The 2 times it happens the most is in adolescence or midlife. And like you were talking about that girl, she's trying to figure out what's going on. She's an adolescent, and she's trying to figure out, because now the hormones are rushing in her body. She's starting to feel like a woman, and at the same time, her brain is computing information different. It's accepting stuff different. It's figuring stuff out different. And instead of that 5-year-old going, why is the moon Why's the moon red, Dad? Why? Now they're forming their opinions, and so here's your deal. So again, adolescent and midlife. A guy across the street from me years ago, he drove up in a Vet. He drove a Corvette up. He was 50-something years old and drove up a 77 Corvette. I looked over at him and I said, "What are you doing?" He said, he was a deacon in the church, and he said, "Well, I've always wanted one. So I got me a Corvette," which is fine. But all I kept seeing was the red flag. You're 50 years old, and here comes a red Corvette. Not like your children were growing up and it was just something you want to do. His children were still growing. And so I found out a few months later that he even got out of the church. He was no longer a deacon. He was out, so what happened was he was in a midlife crisis. Again, it's a difficult transition. You're trying to figure out who you are. You're going, an adolescent is going to go from a child to an adult. They're trying to figure out who they are. And so there's that fight within their psyche. And somebody, usually women are in their 40s, guys are in their 40s and 50s. 30s to 40s for women, 40s to 50s for men, but adolescent, midlife, and it's when the visible, when the visible, you see it. I'm asleep when I'm writing some of this stuff. Severely conflicts with the real you, causing the visible you severely conflicts with the real you. Think about this. The visible you. Here's all our visible yous. We'll all look around. Y'all, here's your visible you. All right? Your visible you actually conflicts with the real you, or the you you're trying to become. That's why I use it. A transition is when the identity crisis takes place. And here it goes. It causes pain, distress, and a desire for change. Watch this. Who am I? What do I believe in? What value should I live by? Wow, this is